To start off the video, and every other one of the videos I make for this series, I'm gonna have this intro sequence explaining some disclaimers and some other things to hopefully help explain my evaluation of these items. So, for one, the items are going to be evaluated based on only their item type. So, for example, when I'm talking about great swords, I'm not going to say every single great sword is trash, because falchions exist, which are, in almost every single scenario, better in an endgame situation. So the fact that falchions are just better than great swords is not going to mean all great swords are bad. I'm going to be evaluating great swords against great swords. And maybe in some special cases I'll be evaluating them against something else. So, for example, I will evaluate quarterstaffs to clubs because quarterstaffs and clubs are often spellcasting weapons, but that's not the point. Also, I'm going to be trying to look at the weapons in a vacuum, meaning I will not be comparing, say, Vistani Knife Fighter Kukri to, I don't know, Grandmaster of Flower's Sickle. It's not a fair comparison. Kukris are pretty mediocre until you factor in Vistani, and then they're OP. Sickles are bad, but they might be good in the future, so that's why I'm going to be ignoring the enhancement trees or the feats. Also, I hope that this video will stay mostly up to date with the weapons I go over. So that means that I will not be evaluating the items based on a current scenario, because in the future, for example, rapiers might become good. So I will be evaluating the rapiers on how good the rapiers are, not on how good rapiers as a whole are, in case the rapiers become good someday. With that out of the way, I hope you enjoy this video and all the other videos I make, and let's get into the review. Alright, now we're gonna look at quarterstaffs. Clubs, there's like a million clubs, sadly. But we luckily don't have to look through all of the copy items, which is good. So, clubs. This is a quest-only item. This is a tutorial item, so it's useless. This is also a tutorial item, so it's useless. This is a quest-only item. Long Broom of Mystery is, again, a cosmetic clicky. Flaming Spear is much worse. It's good for, like, stealth characters, and SSG is hell-bent on killing any and all stealth play, so I don't know. Balance Beam, same thing as the club, it's cosmetic. This staff is quest-only item. Scorpion Staff, it is a summon monster item. Is this good? Well, it's easy to guess from Chanticleer. The item is bad, it only has summon monster too. However, as a clicky, you can equip it and just summon the monster and throw it in your backpack. I mean, the summon monster spells are bad. If you play on, like, normal and hard, they're fine. They're not good on elite, but, like, it's a free summon. So, I mean, I guess it's okay. Pillar of Light. Silver Flame Lore gives you positive light and alignment crit and spell power. So, this is it's okay. You're probably still better off if you're a caster using, the Borderland Scepters, but I guess the item's okay. It's just you can't farm this quest, you have to run the whole chain, so not good. This is a clicky. It is terrible. Clickies in this game do not scale damage with spell power. They only scale off cast level. This item's completely useless. This is a starter weapon, so Nyx's Quarterstaff is actually amazing. Why is it amazing? Well, at this level, you don't have a lot of options. This does 2d6 force damage, vertigo, and deadly. So, 2d6 force damage always works, free damage. Deadly 3, you probably don't have a deadly item, so that's free damage. And vertigo, I don't know, isn't that useful, but this is the best quarterstaff at the level unless you can craft a double augment slot impact force damage quarterstaff. Which, I mean, I can do, but not everyone can do. So, get this one if you need it. Ethereal Quarterstaff has Ghost Touch. I don't need to explain that. Bullywug Priestess's Staff. Is this item good? Not really. Cast quarterstaffs in this game are effectively always bad, because they don't give you enough stats to make up for taking up both weapon slots. This item is interesting. It gives you negative poison and cold, a very strange combination that no one uses. It also makes you immune to the bless spell, and whenever your negative poison and cold spells hit enemies, they get it with the Bane spell. What does the Bane spell do? It lowers their saves versus fear. Yeah, this item is definitely an item of all time. Wig of the Giant Mage. It has no damage stats. It just has spell resistance. Man. Staff of Nat Gan. It is good. It also has strength and dex to hit and damage. It gives you dodge, dexterity, deception, and silver. It doesn't give you any offensive stats, but it gives you defensive stats and ability score, and it gives you a DR bypass, so it's pretty good. However, the Chieftain's Spear exists. Now let's look at its stats. It has bleed, which is a little bit of extra damage maiming, a little bit of extra damage and puncturing. It causes con damage. Note the 1d8 die. So it's more than the 1d6 of the others. This is the best quarterstaff at level 4 by a mile. Why is that? 18 to 20 crit range. This item has +2 base crit range, meaning this item is objectively better than everything else. It is by far and away the best one. F in the chat, the Broken Ore. Now the Broken Ore also has 18 to 20. However, notice that it has impact, meaning that this item does not stack with improved critical. You're not going to have improved critical at this level, but this is going to be important for the later tiers of the Broken Ore, which are going to be really, really bad because you will have improved critical. At this level, this item is just as good, if not better, than the Chieftain's Spear, because it has double strike, more bleed damage, and it has a trip, and it has effectively the same crit range at this level. So this item is basically better. However, this is an event item, and you can always get the Chieftain's Spear. So, I mean, get whichever one of these you can. Totemic Staff of Splinter Skull. It's a Summon Monster 3 clicky. Have you noticed a theme with Summon Monster Quarterstaffs? The same thing applies here. Arlen's Staff. Why does this give a defensive stat on a quarterstaff and also 1d6 force damage? Actually, I think instead I'm going to use my 2d8 bleed damage, impact, double strike, felling the oak, 18 to 20 quarterstaff instead. Compared to my 1d6 damage, Lamau. Also, F in the chat for the 1.5W. Yikes. It's trying to be good, but it's just so not good. It does have a 3x crit multi, but at this level you don't have any extra critical threat range. Yeah, big yikes. Big yikes. Brian Shaman Staff. Old item, old stats, terrible. Also Gust of Wind. Why? Bludgeoning Bankroll. You would never use this over the Chieftain's Spear. Literally never. It has a Paralyze that always lands, and it does a lot of extra damage and it's Metalene, so it breaks DR, but it does a hell of a lot less damage. Soul Eater. DC 17. Hilarious. Feeding 10. 10 temporary hit points on purple. Hilarious. Vampirism. Note internal cooldown of 1 second. Hilarious. This item is beyond useless. If you're using this item, I feel sorry for you and your family. This item is actually atrocious. This is a garbage item. Absolutely awful. Elemental Bloom. This is the best heroic quarterstaff in the game, and it's level 7. That's kind of silly. It has a 1d8 die, 19 to 20 x3, so it has both an extra crit range and multi, because it doesn't have impact, and also it has Body Feeder, meaning when you crit, you get extra temp HP, meaning you're hard to kill, and it also has Paralyzing, which actually works in heroics. Every time you hit an enemy, they must make the save or be crowd control. This item is fan-frickin-tastic. Go get one of these if we're playing Quarterstaff build, please. This is amazing. Spearfisher. Oh boy. Surely this item is just as good as Elemental Bloom since it's newer, right? Animal Bane. Title. What does that do? Extra damage to fire creatures. Cold Vulnerability. Notice how this item doesn't do cold damage. Underwater action. It gives swim and underwater action. Yeah, this is a yikes. This is a yikes. Also, no crit range or multi. Wow. Stave of the Seer. Intelligence, Wisdom, UMD, True Seeing. This is the only True Seeing clicky in the game, meaning that if you cannot scroll it for whatever reason, this is good. Is the item good? The stats are not great. I mean, UMD 5 is a lot. But however, it has a 2d6 base die instead of 1d6, meaning it has double the base damage. But it also has 18 to 20 crit range. And for some reason it has int and whiz to damage and attack. So if you can't get a elemental bloom for whatever reason, and for some reason you can get one of these, this is technically almost as good. It's just this is in a much harder quest that is higher level, harder to get to, worse drop rates. I don't know in what scenario you would have one of these instead of elemental bloom. This is technically an acceptable alternative. Lightning rod. This item is really bad. It gives you basically nothing. This is not how much spell power you get on modern items. No one needs this. No one needs this. Theurgic Stave. This is easier to get than the Stave this year and also better. Why? Well, it doesn't have int or whiz damage or hit, so it can use strength. It's adamantine, so it bypasses DR. This other stats don't matter. It also has 2 augment slots, and it has the 18 to 20 crit range. And lastly, it has 1.5 W 2d4 base die. This item is amazing because it does a lot of extra. It does hugely increased damage compared to other Quarterstaffs with extra crit range. So it's amazing. Witching Hour. It's from the Shadow Crypt. Ghost Touch, Nullification, Void Lore, Adamantine. Why does it have 2 melee stats, Adamantine and Ghost Touch, and then 2 caster stats? And also, the 2 caster stats are outdated compared to modern items. Yeah, this item is atrocious. Don't use this. Shamanic Staff. True Chaos. You must be chaotically aligned, and it does 1 to 6 chaos damage. Huh. Hear me out. What if you just use the Caneth Crafted one and you put 2d6 Force, 2d6 Acid, and then 2 2d6 damage rubies in the augment slots for 8d6? Meaning it's 8 times more damage than this and doesn't require you to be chaotic? I'm just saying. Also, Glaciation 42 is less than the level 2 Borderland Scepters, so yeah. Slave Master Staff. Well, it gives you Fire Lore, Lightning Lore, Acid Lore, Wizardry, Insightful Evo Focus, Disciple Conjuration Focus, and Acid, Fire, Electric, and Cold Spell Power. That's a lot of stats. This item also looks cool. This item is not too bad. Like I was talking about with the clubs, it's missing Insightful Spell Power, which is generally what you want. So I would still run a Queen's Scepter over this. This item is technically good. It has all stats you would want. It's just, it's kind of outshined by Feywild gear. It's also in a horrendously god-awful quest, so good luck farming it. Broken Ore level 8. This is where the Broken Ore is also just worse than Elemental Bloom. So it's dead on arrival from here on out. Calamitous Quarterstaff. I actually think even with the hilarious Acid Dot, this is worse than Elemental Bloom because Elemental Bloom is so strong. Echo of Wave. It is a caster Quarterstaff that is worse than the Feywild options. It does have the funny Swirling Ice Shield for damage reduction. This item's not good. Don't use this. Tinder. Magma Surge, Flaming Blast, Fire Lore, Combustion. All modern stats. Worse than Elemental Bloom. Moving on. Arcane Shard. Old item, old stats. Potency 40 is insanely outdated. Spell Pen 2, you can get plus like 4 or 5 at this level. You're not going to wear this for the meta magic reduction. Terrible item. Staff of Inner Sight. Int, Wiz, Chaw, Spell Focus Mastery, True Seeing. I don't know who this is an item for. Because you only need one of these on any character. You probably don't need True Seeing. And you are probably just using the Feywild necklace for Spell Focus Mastery. I would never use this. Also, there's Int, Wiz, or Chaw to hit and damage for some reason. The Barovian weapons are all fine at their level. The calamitous weapons from Lemordia are better and easier to, and not quite as easy to get, but they're still pretty easy to get. Same with the Macabre. Staff of Arcane Power. This is a raid item, and what does it give you? Spell Focus Mastery, replaced by Feywild. Wizardry, that's an augment. Lesser Arcane Augmentation is admittedly good. Good Luck +2, not good. And it also gives you a clicky for a bunch of damage spells that doesn't scale with spell power, so it's completely useless. Yeah, this is not a good item. Not good. Also, you're competing with the caster clubs from Moorgrave, so yeah, yikes. All of the giant hold quarterstaffs are bad because their stats are lower than you can find on modern items. Also, they give less stats, so terrible. All of the shadow staffs are completely useless. They are worse than Elemental Bloom. They are worse than the Broken Ore. They are worse than the Chieftain's Spear. Never use these. I mean, even their stats aren't good. Like, Stone Prison, who cares? Entropic is a tiny bit of extra damage. The Canth Crafting would be better. Life Stealing, I mean, not really that useful. Stuff dies too quickly. Vampirism, again, doesn't heal you enough. It's just all bad. Master Transmuter Staff. Oh boy, is this a good item? Intelligence, Transmutation Focus, Devotion, Potency, Concentration, Healing Lore. Remember those 2 clubs that I told you for the club section were bad? Yeah, let's just put all of the those 2 club stats on one item and give it Disintegrate. Yeah, it's terrible. Oh, you also can combine the Moorgrave Scepters, a Fusible and a Malleable together into a Quarterstaff with the with both of their stats combined and also magical efficiency. I don't recommend it because you can't convert it back. So if you ever want to say use a Combustion Scepter but not a Devotion Scepter, you can't undo this, meaning that you have to get another Combustion Scepter. Therefore, I don't think this is worth it. Also, there's like a million of them, so lots of scrolling for Quarterstaffs. Branch of Vile Curses. Improved Curse Spewing. Useless. Potency. Old value, bad item. Nullification. Old value, bad item. Necromancy Focus. Old value, bad item. Useless item. Light Unending. Solar 3. 3 to 12 light damage, or you could do 3d6. 3d6? I think it's 3d6. Yeah, you could do 3d6 damage with a Canth Crafted item. Vertigo 8? Who cares? Metalline, Banishing, Flame Touch Giant. I don't know what this is for, honestly. Like, Banishing is okay. I mean, Banishing is good at this level, don't get me wrong. But why would you use this over Elemental Bloom? You wouldn't. Also, the Quarterstaff of the Fallen Age is better, which is funny, because it's not good. Dream Spitter. This item is interesting. It is crystals, so it is a News Beater. It has Greater Evil Outsider Bane, which is completely useless. It's an old value. Life Stealing isn't very great. It has Enchantment Focus on a melee weapon. Ugh. And then you also can upgrade it with the Storm Reaver and Suppressed Power. Neither of the upgrades are good. This is also a raid item in a stupid raid that everyone hates. Terrible. Staff of the Petitioner. Power Store is good. Everything else on here is insanely old and outdated. And it's also Quarterstaff, so it's terrible. Breeze. 1d10 base die, 1.8 W, 18 to 20 crit range, attack and damage modifier dex. Okay, so it looks good. It's not as good as Elemental Bloom. It's also impossible to get because it's from Ascension Chamber, but it is a good item. It also has extra sonic damage, it trips enemies, and it does extra damage. It's good. Good item. You're just never gonna get it. Staff of Flesh Shaping. Old value, old value, old value, old value. Admittedly not very useful. Bad item. Stonework Beam. Shield +8. That's odd. Not good. Quality Deception. Yeah, I really care about the 1 to hit, 2 to damage on sneak attacks and heroics. Terrible. Paralyzing. Hey, you know what else is paralyzing? The Elemental Bloom. Percussive Maintenance. 2 wisdom damage. Hey, you know what else does wisdom damage on hit? The Elemental Bloom. Terrible. No anything over here. Creeping Dust Conduit. Acid and Cold. Crit Chance. Acid and Cold. Spell Power. Conjuration Focus. Evocation Focus. Arcane Augmentation. Quality Spell Focus Mastery. Is this a good item? Kind of. I mean, it's worse than the Scepters earlier, as well as the Quarterstaffs earlier from Moorgrave. It does have Quality Spell Focus Mastery and Arcane Augmentation, which are 2 stats that are hard to get. So, like, I could see a world where you use this. I wouldn't use it. Same thing for the Firestorm Conduit, except it's just fire and electric. Moonbeam. Impact, Holy Double Strike, Felling the Oak. Hey, you remember that Elemental Bloom I was talking about? Yeah, guess what's better than this? Now, there's going to be a common theme on this quarterstaff list. The theme is go get an elemental bloom. That's the theme. Serenian quarterstaff. Yeah, guess what? This is an iconic item. Nature's Vengeance. Greater Aberration Bane. Old effect and useless effect. Sunburst. DC 22. Greater Stability. These has non-stacking AC and saves. And then Dense Wood. I don't even know what this does to the weapon. It doesn't even add a DR bypass. So, why is it here? Also, look. No extra range of multi. Terrible. Luminous Truth. Okay, so this item I have actually used on a build before instead of Elemental Bloom. Not because it's better, but because I was playing a bad build. So, it has Powers of Flames and Purity, which is Fire and Light spell power and lore. There's Flaming Blast, Coruscating, and Incineration. So, it has decent stats for, like, a caster. And it also has decent damage stats, and it also has 18-20 crit range and 2.2 W. So what is the scenario that we'd use this? If you need the spell power for an imbue, this is better because it gives you your spell power. Also, if you're playing Staff Sacred Fist, this gives you 2 of the 3 crit chances you need for your key spells. And it's also a good item. That's why I was playing a caster Sacred Fist. That's why I used this. So this is actually a very niche but decent item. Rawl's Might. It has random effects. Outdated value. Terrible. This is fine. This is fine. And then all of these are bad. All of them. Also, it increases your threat generated, which is funny. And the Suppressed Power, I believe, upgrades these effects to be a little bit better. It also has a 1d11 die. 2.6W, 3x, multi. I mean, it's not great. It's still worse than Elemental Bloom. Also, it's level 18, meaning that you have to farm the fucking Mind Sunder. And with the disc chest. And that's going to take way too long for an item that you're going to use for like 30 minutes. So, the Bone Crusher is the only heroic weapon in the game that accepts sentience for some reason. If you put a sentient jewel in it, it becomes level 20. But that's actually a decent item even at level 20 because you can put the gem in it and it still works. It has an 18 to 20 crit range, 1d10 base die, 2.6 W. Seeker's good. Inseparable Combat Mastery is fine. Rock Slide isn't great. Shockwave isn't great. And Dex isn't great. So like it's good. It's not great. When we look at the level 20 Quarterstaffs, the Epic Staff of Arcane Power is got way more stats, and it's still bad, which is funny. I mean, it gets a bunch of meta match cost reduction. It's still bad. Same with the Staff of Inner Sight. It's still bad. Also, look, damage modifier Strength Chod, attack modifier Strength Int. Why? Epic Soul Eater. They tried to save Epic Soul Eater by giving it Epic Trap the Soul, which lands, Demonic Might, which is stacking strength, feeding, and also +1 extra crit range, and also, or no, that's it. It's still not good. Why is it not good? Say hello to the Epic Staff of Nat Gan, the absolute goat of leveling. Dodge 9% is good, Dex 9 is AC, Deception 7 is a lot better than Heroic, Seeker 9 is good, Silver's good, 2 augment slots, 3W. Why does it have a 2d6 base die when all the other ones have a 1d6 base die? I don't know. It's almost like it's awesome. Oh wait, it also has an 18 to 20 crit range, meaning that this thing fucking slaps. This thing's awesome. This thing's amazing. Please use this. Tinder. Bad. Caster. Guard effect. Bad. Augment. Yeah, bad item. Not good. Alfrin's Staff. It gives you 6% crit chance and 90 spell power. Yeah, that's definitely an item. Epic Luminous Truth, same thing as the heroic niche, but has a use. Implement of the Deep Woods, old, bad, useless. Or no, Restoration, I guess is fine if you don't have EMD. Yeah, this item's not good. Stout Oak Walking Stick is the other goat of leveling. Ignore the 19 to 20 crit range. This has impact, so that doesn't stack with critical. The 3x crit multi is legit, though. Also, this has the trip, and it also has alignment bypass, DR bypass. If you can't get a staff in that Gan, get this one. If you can't get this one, get the staff in that Gan. So they're equally as good. Drow Quarterstaff of the Weapon Master is just worse than Nat Gan and Stout Oak. Oh, I forgot to point out Stout Oak also has the 2d6 base die. So yeah, just worse. Staff of the Necromancer. Old effect, old effect, old effect. Not good, not good. Old effect. Bad item, terrible. Don't use. Bludgeoning Bankroll's the same thing. It's just worse than the other things I mentioned earlier. Twilight Element of Magic. Bad, old, not great, old. Detuned here, so it doesn't save it. Terrible item. Okay, this is potentially the best item in the whole game. It's from Call of the Web, so it's kind of a pain. So it has Supreme Good, which means you have to be good aligned. It also does negligible damage. That's not great. Lightning Strike, negligible damage. Cloud Burst, negligible damage. Freedom of Movement's good, because it's hard to get that sometimes. Feather Flying's also good. Saves an augment slot. The Attuned to Heroism gives it 0.5 more W and +1 enhancement bonus and augment slot. Those are all good things to have. Why is this, in my opinion, the best weapon in the game? What is... Excuse me? Why does it have a 16 to 20 crit range? This is actually the only weapon in the game that has +4 base crit range from the normal weapon type, and it's a 1d10 base die. This is a level 23 weapon that is actually so good that there are some endgame quarterstaff builds that this is the best weapon that they can use, because if you get enough of a to damage stat, this actually becomes better than all of the endgame quarterstaffs because of this. Yeah, this item is silly. If you get this item, you will never want to play a leveling build that is not a staff build, because this weapon is such a cataclysmic joke, and it completely ruins the entire fabric of balance in the game for leveling. It's in Caught in the Web, so it's pretty rough to get. If you get this item, though, it will probably become your favorite weapon in your entire collection on your character. This item is probably in the top 10 weapons in the entire game. Epic Pillar of Light is even more useless now because there's so many better ways to get all these stats. Also, turning stats. Lamau. Oh, Dream Piercer's like the epic version of the... whatever the other Heroic Giant Hole raid one was. Is it any better? Greater Good. Now it requires you to be good aligned to do 2 to 12 damage. Woo. It still has Greater Evil Outsider Bane. It still has Life Stealing. Still has Enchantment Focus. It's the same item, except it requires you to be good, and it also has epic damage. It's completely useless. Terrible. Epic Elemental Bloom. This item is actually worse than Seereth. That's how busted Seereth is. This is the best leveling quarterstaff in all of Heroics, and it is worse and 3 levels higher than the raid quarterstaff and Caught on the Web. So don't get this. Go get Seereth. Same with Bone Crusher. Seereth completely sweeps. Also, I don't think the Mythic Bone Crusher exists anymore. I don't think it does. I'm just gonna quickly rattle off. Outdated and bad. All useless stats. Outdated and bad. Cast Quarterstaff that is outdated and bad. This is a funny item. It looks really cool. Except look at this. D6 damage. D6 damage, D6 damage, Vampirism. So this is no effect, no effect, no effect. Effectively no effect is the internal cooldown. This item's completely useless. It's actually baffling how bad this item is, and it's a raid item. I don't understand. Okay, the Staff of Shadow is actually, depending on your damage stat, is either the second best or the best quarterstaff in the game. Why is that? It only has 1 effect and 3 augment slots, and it has normal dice. It is actually the only endgame weapon that has extra crit range or multi, it having a 3x multi, and since it has the raid dice, this goes insanely hard. Now, if you don't have, like, LGS debuffs, obviously run an LGS debuff weapon instead. But this is, assuming LGS debuffs are accounted for, this or Seereth are your best bet. Staff of Irian. Oh boy. This item is, kind of weird. So it gives you Deific Focus, which is +1 to spell DC of the school, stacks 3 times, casting a spell from another school removes the stack, so it's kind of more DCs, kind of. Fire and Light crit, Fire and Light spell power, I guess it's fine. Urian's Fury, this holy weapon is attuned to protective radiant light. If Quarterstaffs are your favorite weapon, while you're projecting your Aura of Menace, you can absorb 10 spells per rest. And then Urian's Might, this can unleash incredible power. If Quarterstaffs are your favorite weapon, whenever you turn on dead, you get 5% Fire and Light crit damage, and also Brazen Brilliance. I don't know what the point of this item is. If you're favored with a Quarterstaff, I mean, maybe it was good back in the day. This item isn't good anymore. It's like, this is not really great. This is outscaled. This is outscaled. That's not a lot of spell absorb. You can get quality bonus to spell crit damage now on items. Brazen Brilliance is fine, I guess. Not good. Legendary Echo of Wave. Same thing as Heroic. It's not great. Reflection of Wave is actually interesting. It now does Cold, Sonic, and Electric spell power and lore, which is fine. It also gives you 3 charges of the Absorb per day, so that's better. Now, why is this item, in my opinion, actually good? Because if you are a Water Elemental, either from a Druid form or from Sorcerer's Elemental Apotheosis, you benefit from 5 additional cast levels for your cold spells, as well as 50 exceptional cold spell power and 5% exceptional cold spell crit damage. Okay, what is the important thing from this? The important thing from this is if you're playing a cold druid or a cold sword, this item is best in slot, assuming you are trying to get the funny haha screenshot of maximum spell power, because you can't get the 50 exceptional spell power any other way. It's not a good item besides that, but for that purpose, it is good, because you're better off running 2 scepters or an orb or a shield or whatever than this. The Eclipse itself. Okay, is this item good? The nearly finished, I believe you can craft like spell power and crit chance of your choice. Quality, potency, spell lore, quality, spell focus, mastery, arcane augmentation. These are all stats that are fine. If this was not a Quarterstaff, I would consider this item good, but since this takes up your offhand, this is not really that great. However, this cosmetic is freaking awesome. I love how it looks, so that's cool. Firestorm Conduit is just not good anymore. Moonbeam, not good. Creeping Dust, not good. Blight Staff. This item's funny. It gives you acid, negative poison, and evil spell crit chance spell power. Also, it gives you spell focus, mastery, spell pen, earth grab guard, which is not good. And then the inflict blight gives you like an extra dot damage. It's not great. I mean, you would never use this because it's a Quarterstaff. If this was not a Quarterstaff, you might use it, but it's a Quarterstaff, and cast Quarterstaffs are inherently not good. So, Spear of the Mournlands. It is worse than the Staff of Shadow, but is it a okay item otherwise? If you have the Lord of Blades deity, this is automatically a favorite weapon for you, so that's cool. Touch of the Mournlands lowers enemy healing and repair amp, which is not great. It gives you Fetters, which is vol stacking, so that's good. Improved Destruction's good, because at endgame you want to lower AC and fort. It also is Keen for bypassing fort. It's like, this item isn't that bad. It's not bad. It's just, there's other better things. But in a vacuum, this item's okay. I mean, maybe not the best thing ever, but... Staff of the Summer Solstice. It gives you Affirmation, which is awesome. It also gives you Fire, Light, Crit, and Spell Power, Sacred Spell Focus Mastery, and also 20% crit damage with Fire and Light spells. When this item came out, this thing was hot shit because it was the only way to get the crit damage. One of the only ways to get the Spell Focus Mastery, and one of the only ways to get Affirmation. This item was amazing when it came out. It's just there's so many other ways to get these stats now. This item is no longer good. Staff of the Winter Solstice, same thing. This is the same thing, except instead of Fire and Light, it's negative force poison, profane spell focus mastery, and this is concordant opposition, which gives you more spell points. Same thing, not relevant anymore. Used to be though. The Quarterstaff, same thing as the clubs from earlier, and staffs from earlier, and yada yada yada. Endless scrolling, boo hoo. Spear of the Hunter. This is actually worse than the Spear of the Mornlands because it doesn't have a debuff, meaning you can't increase your damage. What does it do? Sovereign Vorpal's extra damage dice. Bleeding is useless. Thrill of the Hunt, you have a chance to hold monster enemies, and it works decently well. It's like nice crowd control. And then the Falling Star gives you a 2% chance to deal a big AoE attack that does some damage. I mean, it's fine. It's not great. The Bullywug Priestess's Staff. Remember how I told you earlier the heroic one was bad because Bane is useless and making immune to Bless is confusing and strange? Surely they would make it so the on spellcast debuff isn't Bane. Huh, it still is Bane. Moving on. Luminous Truth has lost its extra crit range because it is an endgame item, meaning that this item is no longer good. Sorry. Legendary Soul Eater, same thing. It also has Profane Life Force now, and Profane will round to +3. Still not good. Natgan, uh-oh, it lost it. F in the chat, Nafgan. Staff of Arcane Power. Somehow, every time this item appears, it keeps getting worse. I don't understand. This item was never good. None of the levels are good. And guess what? This one's still terrible. Same with the Staff of Inner Sight. Same with Tinder. Spearfisher is no better. It still has cold vulnerability and no way to apply cold damage except with the Dread slot. It's like, who cares? No one cares. This is the Staff of the Shadow. Not Staff of Shadow, Staff of the Shadow. And the Staff of the Shadow and its variants are all just as bad as the heroic one. This one's also still terrible. Alright, Amplin, the Channeling Bolt. Lightning Lash, Lightning Lore, Quality Spellfocus Mastery, Sealed and Mist, Exceptional Spellfocus Mastery +2. Is this item good? No. Why is it not good? It's a Quarterstaff. That's literally the only problem with this item. Every single stat on this item is good. It's just, it's a Quarterstaff. And now that you can get Exceptional Spellfocus Mastery on the Woeful slot in Lamortia, I cannot see a use for this item. Conduct the Bolt of Rage. Lightning Lash, Legendary Electric Storm, Shocking Blast, Sealed and Mist. Is this one good? If you're gonna melee with a Quarterstaff, this is probably the best one in the game. You would either use this, or you would use Undying Age, or you would use Cataclysmic. So, any of those three are probably about equally as good, so this item is pretty good.